Good. So what'd you do this weekend? Anything?
Well, I got a tuxedo for prom.
Yay! That's exciting. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Okay, so we have Hill, we have two trivia questions to warm us up with this morning. In what mountain range is Santiago, Chile located? And which indigenous peoples lived in the area of Santiago before the Spanish arrived in the 1500s? Trivia. You can search, you can Google these. So behind me, actually, you guys, is a picture of Santiago, Chile. Okay, so I know I'm blocking a lot of it, but you can see the mountains, right? It's nestled in the mountains. Look at all the skyscrapers. Okay. So in what's the mountain range? And then what indigenous peoples lived there before the Spanish arrived? Okay. Yep. So number two is Good Hill. The first one, that must be like a secondary mountain range. What's the main mountain range? That must be like a secondary something, because I've never heard of those. Are those people? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very good. Are those people in number one hill? Were those indigenous peoples? Okay. There you go. Yeah, very good. So it's the Andes Mountains, you guys, which are so cool. Okay. And then the indigenous peoples, okay. So it must have been like a secondary one. Yeah. And then the indigenous peoples, you guys, you could have found a couple of them. The Picunche was one. Hola, Isadora. And the other could have been the Mapuche people, right? So yeah. So when the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they found people already living there. Yeah. Okay, so mountain range in Santiago, Chile, which is Isadora, the picture behind me, is the Andes Mountains. And then the people that live there, you could have found the Mapuche or the uh, what did I call them? The Pincuche, right? Isn't that what I said? Yeah, Pincuche. All right. So, Isadora, did you Picunche? That's it. Did you have a good weekend, Isadora? Are you going to prom? Are you going to go to prom? Are you going to try to go to prom? All right. Good job. Do you have a dress yet? Or you don't have to wear a dress, I guess, but do you have your outfit yet? All right. Muy bien. Okay. So take a look at my screen behind me, you guys. Hoy vamos a conocer las cantidades indefinidos. This is a rather challenging lesson, okay? For me to be able to explain it to you and for you guys to catch it as well. And the reason is because we are not native speakers. Yeah. If we were native speakers, this would have just been learned like through our environment and it would have just come naturally to us. But when we try to present it in sort of an outside its context, like a classroom, it's a little tricky. So I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. But so we're going to do that today. We're also going to review our vocab because we need to have a vocab quiz on Thursday. So put it in your calendar if you guys write those things down. Spanish quiz vocabulary 8.2 and 8.1 on Thursday. Because next week you guys are going to be in and out of like GMAS testing and stuff like that. So we can't quiz, we can't really do anything new stuff all next week. So we need to kind of finish this up this week. So I'm going to kind of move a little quickly today and tomorrow. Okay. So any questions about at least our short-term direction? You know, once you guys are finished with GMAS testing, it's really like blink and we're really already at the end of the school year. Okay. So we're going to be kind of just dotting our I's and crossing our T's here shortly. Okay. Any questions about what I just said? So quiz this Thursday on the 17th. Okay. All right. So what I would like to do is just kind of remind us what some of this vocab looks like. Share my screen here. Yeah. So we had Hola Jainirkel quiz on Thursday. Okay. Quiz on Thursday. We had El Bosque, which was a forest, El Continente, El Desierto. The good news, you guys, is that so many of these are cognates, right? So they're not difficult. La Isla, island. Lago, lake. Mar is the sea. La Montaña, mountain. El Océano is an ocean, obviously. El Rio is a river. Remember, you guys, we kind of did some brainstorming of landforms on Thursday of last week. La Roca is a rock. Tierra with the small t is dirt. Tierra with the big T is earth, like the earth, you know, the planet Earth. El Valle, a valley, looks like a valley. Seco meaning dry and tropical meaning tropical. And because these are adjectives, we said, you guys, that we would have to, for seco, we would have to worry about masculine and feminine, singular or plural. So it can be seca or secos or secas, right? So that spelling is going to change. For tropical, we only have to worry about plural. So it's either tropical or tropicales. Okay, so those are all things that we mentioned last class period. And then we looked at los puntos cardinales, north, south, east, and west. And yeah, okay, and that's where we stopped. So I want to practice with those today real quick because like I said, our quiz is Thursday. And so let me get my screen pulled up here. I haven't done this in so long. And every time they do this, you guys, they change like the mode or whatever. Okay, it's loading for me. So take a look at my screen and I will put this link in the chat for you. And let's practice this vocab. Okay, so there's your link in the chat, you guys. I am going to give you guys some time to get some work done at the end of the period today. So go ahead and join this. You'll have some time to do some work, you guys. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of you. So I need all 4 of you in, please. All right, Cheetah. Trey, I realize you've been absent, so you can, but some of these are cognates, so you know it might not be a bad thing to just join, do what you can. Liliana, how are you today? All right, Liliana, here is our link. And what we're doing is we're practicing our vocab, Liliana, because we have a quiz on Thursday. Okay. So that's the 4 of us. I'm going to wait for Liliana to join us. Go ahead and click in, Liliana. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think that's all of us. Is that everybody? See? Since we don't have names. Okay. Yes, yes, you'll have to rejoin the Zoom. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start. Again, remember that so many of these are cognates, right? Can you hear me now, Liana? All right, good job. See how easy these are? Let's see. It's all about who's fastest. All right, hawk and dragon. Remember that these are cognates, many of them, okay? Okay, el cielo is the sky, right? El cielo is the sky. Muy bien. Hola, Kinsey. All right, come on, Hawk, you can do this. The star. Kinsey, I need you to check out the chat, please. Very good. Clase la estrella, the star, la estrella. Muy bien. Look at Eagle go. Woohoo, good job. Hawk, give it your best shot. Here we go. The sea. Yeah, it's a little harder one because there's nothing to tell us, right? There's really no hint. So the sea is el mar, el mar. So we had the ocean, el océano, which looks like ocean. We had el mar, the sea. Then we had lago, el lago, the lake, which kind of looks like lake, and el rio, which is a river. At least it starts with an R. So if that helps you think about, okay, the odd water one out is mar, the sea. The rest of them kind of look like what they are. Okay. All right, eagle, good job. Okay, 5 more. We're halfway through. The river. Can you hear now, Liliana? Yes, El Rio. Remember, it's the one that starts with an R. El Rio. Good job. Like the Rio Grande. You all know the Rio Grande is a river, right? Down in Texas. That's how they say it in English, Rio Grande, right? Rio Grande. Yeah. Liliana, check the chat if you didn't see it earlier. Okay, the dirt. The dirt. Yes, with a small t. Small t is dirt. Big T is planet Earth. Okay, small t is dirt. Big T is planet Earth. Somebody needs to unseat whoever winged eagle is, right? All
No,
right.
please don't.
Those were those cardinal points, north, south, east, west.
They gonna get me on this one.
Nah, not really. Sound it out. Yes, oeste. Oeste, west, right?
They gonna get me out on this one.
That's okay. Oeste, right? Oeste. Kind of, I mean, it sounds like a W. You could run the O and the E together. Oeste. Okay. Oh, look at that. Okay. Couple more. Oh, see, there's an error here. Y'all see the error? Everybody should get this right. Dry, it should be in Spanish, should be seco. Seco, right? Seco is dry. Okay. 2 more. Muy bien. That looks like valley, right? El Valle. El Valle. Amazon snail. Look at that. Perfect. Last one. Remember when we were finding examples of things, and when we got to bosque, forest, we said the Amazon, right? So Amazon snail, you're right on here. Lago, muy bien. All right, see, these words are easy, right? Good job, you guys. Nicely done. Captain Cheetah. Tell me who you were in chat. We had 2 cheetahs. So tell me who you were. Muy bien. All right, so that quiz, you guys, is Thursday. Yeah, very good. Very good, very good. That quiz is Thursday. And so if you have a question, let me know. All right. Our next thing is up here over here. For those of you who just joined us, we're going to talk about what they call indefinite quantities. So you can see, like in the marble jars, we don't know how many marbles are in each jar, right? An indefinite quantity. Okay. And so this is probably one of my least favorite things to try to teach, because it's not easy when we are not native speakers. Okay. Because there's so much nuance here. So we're just going to do the best we can with it. What I need for everybody to do is to access their guided notes that we started last week. And I'm getting ready to pull it up here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. So in our Unit 8 for Chile, last Thursday, we did these guided notes, okay, toward the very bottom here. 8.2, oops, I need to share my screen. Okay, 8.2, yes, Hill. Okay, and so if you go ahead and access those again, or wherever you saved it, I don't know where y'all saved your stuff, right? I don't know. Okay, but it should look like this, just as a reminder. It looked like this. So what I would like for you to do, access your 8.2, scroll down to the bottom. We had this chart that we didn't fill out. So give me a thumbs up when you're there and you're ready to do this. Okay, Trey's ready. Thank you, Trey. Who else? Who else is ready? Liliana's ready. Janerical, Isadora, Kinsey. Let me know that you're ready. Okay, Generical's ready. Kinsey and Isadora, how about you? Okay, so before we start, you guys, like the marble jars behind me, if we were to guess, like, oh, guess how many is in each jar, we don't have a way to know, right? We would use words like there's some, there's a few, there's a lot, there's none, right? All of these words are indefinite in the sense that we don't know how many. Like when we say some, well, is some 10 or is some 20? Like we don't have a way to know, right? If there's a few, is a few meaning 5 or 2, right? So that's why they call these indefinite quantities, okay? Because we don't know how many, we're just talking in general, okay? So you should have your guided notes pulled up. We're going to fill in what each one of these mean, and then we're going to look at them to see how they work, okay? So let me share my screen. Okay, so can y'all see the definitions on my screen? Yes, okay. So you're typing this in, right? So ningún, ninguno, or ninguna mean no, or not any, or none. I mean, not any is none, right? So yeah, whichever you prefer. No or none, not any. Okay, there aren't any, there are none. Same thing, okay? Then we have algún, alguno or alguna, algunos or algunas, which depending upon how we use it, again, remember I told you guys, these are so nuanced that for those of us who are not native speakers, it can be difficult. It can mean one, like in general. It can mean some or any or a few. Algún, alguno, right? Algunos libros. Hay algunos libros sobre la mesa, right? There are some books on the desk, okay? We know poco, poca, pocos, and pocas are just some or a few or a little bit of, okay? We know mucho and mucho, mucho and mucha, many or a lot. And todo and todos, we've seen this before, can mean everything or every or all, okay? We also see it, you guys, as like todo el día. So like all throughout the day, you know, todo el día, all day long throughout the day, okay? So depending upon context, that's the hard part here. True. Okay. All right. So let me know when you have these copied. Like, give me a thumbs up. All right. Got a couple of folks done. All right. Everybody else ready? Okay. Morning. Okay. So let's see if we can see what these look like in a sentence. Okay. And then we're going to go on to a different thing. So this is really just kind of following along, paying attention. In many cases, nouns can be counted, right? So we can say like, tengo tres libros, right? I have 3 books. It is possible, however, to refer to nouns using non-specific terms of number, right? And they're called indefinites. They can be adjectives that accompany a noun. And in that case, you have the gender and the number. So you have alguno or alguna, right? Singular and plural. I mean, masculine and feminine. Or you have a singular and plural. Well, alguno or algunos. So we have to keep those things in mind. So for example, hay pocas sillas. There are a few chairs in the room, in the classroom. Hay pocas sillas. So if sillas are feminine and plural, then pocas needs to be feminine and plural as well, okay? Yo voy a traer algunas. I'm going to bring some, right? Some chairs. I'm going to bring some. Yo voy a traer algunas, referring to the chairs. Okay? All right. These are the most common indefinites. Now, if you guys have a question, pop it in the chat because I appreciate them. So here are our choices, and you can see we have our jars of marble, right? To help us visualize. So ningún, none or not any. So our marble jars are empty. Okay. If there are some or a few, we're going to use algún, a form of algún, alguno, or algunos, because there's a few in there, right? There's some. If we have, again, a little bit of or a few, poco or pocas. Okay. Our jar here is a little more full, so we have quite a few here. We have a lot of them, mucho or muchos. And if the entire jar is full, right, then it's going to be todo or todas. So this kind of gives us an idea of quantity in which word can be used to describe that particular indefinite quantity. Okay. So let's see what it looks like again in a sentence here, okay? ¿Hay algún estudiante en la escuela? Is there a student in the school? Right? Like, is there any student in the school? No, no hay ninguno. No, there are none. No, there are no, basically no students, right? But we don't have to say all of that. We can just say ninguno, and it replaces, no, there are no students in the classroom. We replace all of that with ninguno. So these are also opposites, or they can be opposites, okay? Are there any students in the classroom, or is there a student in the classroom? No, there's none, okay? Next example. No veo ningún lago en la isla. I don't see any lake on the island. Okay, I don't see any lake, or I don't see, how would we do that in English? We would just say, I do not see a lake, right? There are no lakes on the island. Ningún, not a one, right? The opposite, hay muchos. There are many in my state where I live. Estado is state. Hay muchos en mi estado. Okay, so I don't see any lakes on the island. There's not a one, right? Versus, oh, but there are many, hay muchos, where I live in mi estado. Okay, are there some books, right? Some, algún. Are there some books about Chile? Or I mean, I have some books about Chile. Tengo algunos libros sobre Chile. I have some books about Chile. I have some also. Yo tengo algunos también. Okay, I have some also. So again, it replaces the whole thing, books about Chile, in the response. Okay, questions about those? All right, well, here's the really confusing part. It's this part down here. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, before a masculine singular noun, which is a person, place, or a thing, right, we're going to use algún or ningún instead of alguno or ninguno. Masculine, singular, noun. We are going to use algún or ningún instead of alguno or ninguno. So let me erase my scribbles. So look up here. So this is an estudiante, masculine, singular, noun. So we used algún. Okay. Lago, masculine, singular, noun. So we used ningún. Okay. Not ninguno, not alguno, but algún and ningún because they're masculine and singular. Ningún, ninguno, and ninguna are used with singular nouns only in a negative sentence because it is a negative statement, right? No hay ninguna estrella. There is not any stars in the sky. There's not a one star in the sky. Okay, there are none in the sky. Okay, so negative sentence, you're going to use ningún, ninguno, or ninguna. The opposite is we have all kinds of things. We have everything. The opposite of none, todo, toda, todos, and todas. Okay, hay estatuas en toda la isla. There are statues all over the island, throughout the island, everywhere on the island, however you want to translate. This thing is posted in Canvas. Okay. And so you can always refer to the rules here when you need to. Okay. the important thing, you guys, is I don't want you to stress about these. They are difficult, and for us to get really good at them, we'd have to spend a whole lot of time trying to practice. Okay. All right. Any questions about those? So go ahead and submit your guided notes, please. Go ahead and submit your guided notes so you can get the points for those. So please go ahead and submit. Okay. Let me know when you're ready to go on to this next best thing, because I want to make sure y'all have time to do some work, get some work done. Okay. Okay. Ready to move on? All right. So let's listen to Senor Jordan. Did I ever tell you guys that I used to work with him? I worked with him for about 4 years. Senor Jordan. Now he writes he writes storybooks in Spanish. That sells storybooks. Okay. So let's take a look at algún and ningún and how we're going to use these. Okay. All right. So make sure that y'all can see my screen. Make sure that y'all can hear my screen, and make sure that you turned in your guided notes. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Hola, en esta lección vamos a hablar acerca de algún y ningún y las demás formas. So, if you've noticed in Spanish we use indefinite articles, un or una for a and an, or unos and unas for some. But you might also come across some affirmative and negative expressions. You might find algún, alguna, or alguno, which means a, an, or any, while algunos and algunas means some or any. Or, on the negative side, you might see ningún or ninguna or ninguno, meaning not one. And you might also see those rarely in the plural forms. Confused? Let's take a look at some examples. Notice these agree in number and gender of the nouns they go in front of. ¿Tienes alguna idea? ¿Tienen algún comentario? ¿Compraste alguna blusa en la tienda? ¿Hay algunos restaurantes buenos en el pueblo? ¿Tienes alguna mascota en tu casa? ¿Tenemos algunas clases con Lucas?
Okay. So I'm going to pause right here and let's just take a look, because he talks pretty quickly. Okay. It's not what I meant to do.
¿En la tienda? ¿Hay algunos restaurantes buenos en el pueblo? ¿Tienes alguna mascota en tu casa?
Okay. So let's take a look at some of these. Okay. These are all forms of algún, alguna, etc., etc. Okay. That's okay. So the número dos, because we can't see number one. Número dos. ¿Tienen algún comentario? Do you have any comments? Okay. Do y'all have any comments? Algún, because we're wanting to say any. Comentario is masculine and singular, so we use algún. So remember, when we have that masculine and singular thing to say any or none, right? We're going to use algún or ningún, not alguno, right? Contrast it, you guys, with number 3. ¿Compraste alguna blusa en la tienda? Did you buy a blouse at the store? Alguna blusa. Because what we're saying is, did you buy a blouse, right? We're not saying, did you buy any blouses? We're saying, did you buy a blouse, right? It's singular and feminine. So alguna, right? Are there some good restaurants in the town? Hay algunos restaurantes buenos en el pueblo, right? Restaurantes, algunos, because we're saying some, not any, even though restaurantes is masculine and plural, not masculine and singular. Okay, because otherwise we would use algún like we did up here if it was singular. Okay. All right. Are you confused totally yet, you guys? So pay attention because we are going to work through an like a practice thing together when we're done with this little Edpuzzle thing. Okay. All right.
¿Tenemos algunas clases con Lucas?
All right. So if we were answering, right, I'm just going to skip these because really I just want his explanations.
So we can see these are fairly similar to un, una, unos, or unas. Let's see what happens when we answer these questions negatively though. ¿Tienes alguna idea? No, no tengo ninguna idea. Or since
Okay.
we know we're talking about idea, we could say no tengo ninguna. ¿Tienen algún comentario? No tenemos ningún comentario. Or, since we know we're talking about comentario, no tenemos ninguno. ¿Compraste alguna blusa en la tienda? No, no compré ninguna blusa. Or, since we know we're talking about a blusa, no compré ninguna. ¿Hay algunos restaurantes buenos en el pueblo? No, no hay ningún restaurante bueno allí. Or, since we know we're talking about good restaurants, no, no hay ninguno. ¿Tienes alguna mascota en tu casa? No, no tengo ninguna mascota. Or, since we know we're talking about mascota, no tengo ninguna. ¿Tenemos algunas clases con Lucas? No, no tenemos ninguna clase con él. Or, since we're not talking about classes, no tenemos ninguna. So to recap, here are the affirmative forms and the negative forms of those sentences. Notice that if we know what we're talking about already, we will see the following shortened forms. So alguna, algunos, and algunas will be shortened just by taking off the noun. Algún plus the noun will be shortened to alguno, and ningún with no noun will be shortened to ninguno. But this is similar, like how we'll say un plus thing, but uno with no thing attached to it. Also notice that when we make these negative, we almost always find the forms ningún, ninguna, or ninguno. This is different from English because notice in the negative sentences in English, we'll say, I don't have any, and the noun is plural. But in Spanish, if you don't have one, why would it be plural? Nevertheless, you might come across ningunos or ningunas, the plural forms, occasionally. One such example would be that if the nouns are always plural. So in this example, lentes or glasses are never found as just one, and therefore ningunos lentes would be used. Or in this example, we don't ever just have a scissor, we usually have scissors. So ningunas tijeras is the example. We also might use these for emphasis. So if somebody said, no tengo ningunos libros interesantes, they might be referring to how they have no interesting books, but they have other books. Or, no tengo ningunos pantalones azules, but they might have other pants. And you might see it also for certain expressions that require it. No tengo ningunas ganas de salir. The phrase tener ganas de is the set phrase. So ningunas ganas would be like saying I have no desire to go out. So in short, these are the affirmative and negative expressions. And the general formula for the negative are that if the sentence is negative, you'll most often use the negative forms. If the negative form goes before the verb, it makes the sentence negative. If it goes after, though, we'll need a no before. This will create a double negative. Muy bien, that's all for this video lesson over algún, ningún, and the others. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about this video, and feel free to practice your own sentences with algún, ningún, or...
Okay. So are we thoroughly confused? Are we thoroughly confused? See, no, yes. Yes, kind of. Yes, it's terribly confusing. And this is why, like I said, as non-native speakers, we could practice this for an entire school year and still have questions. Okay, or at least a full semester and still have questions, right? So give yourself some grace. It'll be fine. I promise that. Okay, give me a minute, you guys. I got to get my screen pulled up here. And we're going to try to work through some of these together, okay? So give me 1 second to get my screen launched here. What is this? 8.2. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're going to try, you guys, to sort these out together, okay? So take a look at my screen real quick. Okay, so it says complete the statements with the appropriate word. Now you guys are going to make a guess, right? Do your best you can at guessing. Now, if you want to look at the marbles image again, it is in your module. And it's also in the resource library. So if you wanted to pull that up, you could, okay? So let's look at our example. It says, no hay ninguna estación de trenes. So there are none. There aren't any train stations on the island, okay? Now, why is it ninguna? It's ninguna, okay, because estación is feminine and singular, and we're talking in a negative, right? Our sentence starts off with negative, no. So we have to use ningún, ninguno, or ninguna, okay, one of those, because our sentence is a negative sentence. Estación happens to be feminine and singular, and therefore we're going to use ninguna, feminine and singular, in a negative sentence. Okay? All right, so let's talk through some of the rest of these. So our sentence is, no tengo blank libro sobre Chile. So I don't have any books on Chile, about Chile. So once again, you guys, we have a negative sentence. It starts with no. So that should tell us, or be our first clue, right? That we are going to use a form of ningún. The sentence starts with no. We have to use a form of ningún. Okay? Now, libro is masculine and singular. So our rule is, if it's masculine and singular, we are going to use clase ningún, right? Remember, if our thing is masculine and singular, we don't use like, if it's a negative sentence, we have to use ningún or algún, right? For a masculine and singular item. So since this is a negative sentence, we choose ningún. Okay, does that make any sense, you guys? Yeah, it's a negative sentence, and libro is singular and masculine, so it has to be ningún. Okay. All right, let's look at number 2. Los chilenos, the Chilean people, right? The people from Chile. Los chilenos están orgullosos de su país. So Chilean people, right,